someone tell me what they think these little bronze rosettes mean? Okay, those are marked. A diver might find an aircraft in the lake. So as the remains are found, we mark it with the rosette. All of these remains.
Normandia. In Normandia.
The Normandy landing?
Yeah,
correct. Okay. It all started on 6/2/1944. So, as you know, history is well known now. The Allied forces invaded the beaches in Normandy to push back the Nazis that were occupying France. These arrows going towards the left, they were basically the 3rd Army and the 9th Army. General Simpson was leading the 9th Army, and the 3rd Army here, the blue circle of the A, a very famous general by the name of Patton. He was in charge of also getting the Germans out of Brittany and pushing them back to Germany. Okay, they did that incredibly fast. They did it too fast to the point where they actually kind of ruined the plans. Because what happened is they cleared this part of France and started moving along towards basically Belgium, Netherlands, and Germany. But they had a little problem. 2 problems. One, our own forces have blown up bridges, roads, and passes to slow down the Germans, and the Germans were blowing up bridges as they retreated to get back to the homeland. So our foot soldiers and tanks, they could move very fast because they would climb over everything and whoa. But our supply trucks, the ones with the food and the bullets and everything, they could not move as fast. So all the generals had to say, whoa, slow down. And then it took about 3 months just to make it basically to the Belgian border. But 3 months was good. We kept pushing. The British and the Canadians were in the north. They liberated basically the coastal areas, and basically the natives liberated the Netherlands. While the American forces came to the south and pushed the Germans back. This little black arrow here, indentation, is a very famous battle. What the Germans did, just as we pushed them back, they had set up, you know, the Siegfried line, which is this kind of black line that goes all the way up. There were natural defenses to prevent us from pushing back, or from invading Germany. Some were the Alps, we couldn't cross the Alps, and where the land was flat, they had bunkers, they had dug holes, they had artillery, mines, so it was hard going. But what they did is, Hitler collected all the divisions, I think it was upwards of 40 divisions, or 40 armies, pulled them off the Russian front. Every division he had available, he threw into this area known as the Ardennes to us, or Bastogne. Now, that was a brutal winter battle that took place because they threw in, like I said, every bullet, every soldier they had into it. And our guys, we made it through, but the losses were incredibly huge. In Ardennes, we have a cemetery, and it's our 3rd largest as far as the number of graves that we have there. And that's only a small percentage. Now, in order to keep it under the 5 minutes that I promised, we recovered, kept pushing the Germans towards the border, and this is where it gets interesting. A little side note, everybody some have heard of an operation called Market Garden. There's several movies. A Bridge Too Far. Okay, A Bridge Too Far, that's probably the most well-known. It is about some soldiers that tried to take a bridge and saw the bridge too far because the operation was a failure. And if you look at this map over here, you have Arnhem at the top, Nijmegen towards the north, and Eindhoven. The American forces basically tackled the southern portion of the battle, and they moved fairly quick up to the middle, where they got bogged down because the Germans were resisting. The timing was off because the British, Canadians, Polish paratroopers, they all jumped in expecting the American troops to catch up and provide backup, but we were stuck. So the paratroopers were actually, they had incredible casualties. The units were wiped out completely. And it was one of the biggest failures of the war. But nevertheless, we pressed towards Germany and went into German territory. The interesting part is once we got into German territory, and I mentioned this briefly earlier, the generals promised our troops that they would not be buried in German soil or enemy soil. So what they did is, on a daily basis from Margraten, there were trucks going back and forth. And as soldiers would die, they were collected, put on the trucks, and brought here to be buried here. So the promise was kept. And they were buried in friendly soil, which to today remains extremely friendly, as we know.
Mr. Gawan, I'd like to thank you for this meeting. You did it for free. And 10 minutes before 1 o'clock, we arrange it. Yes.
Oh yes, it was very short notice.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.